Right, so let's begin. So some people don't know the topic for today's event. Well, it's just going to be a light one, nothing serious also, because this week we're just focusing on the foundations of things before we get to the main stuff. All right, so this is our topic for today. Um, Before we start, I want you guys to react in the just react if you can hear me and can see my screen. All right, thank you. So this is the topic for today, from learning to building. This is actually part one this this learning to building. All right, we'll continue tomorrow, but today we'll be talking about the mindset and mistakes. Also, if you've not been filling the feedback form, please do so. The responses there are still static, still the same number for a while. You can submit multiple responses for each of the days. So please just fill it. It helps us understand what we are doing and what we need to improve. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to be walking you through how you go from learning about something and how to go about building it, right? So this is going to be the content of our slide today. First, I'll be sharing my story. It's not something I actually talk about. Very few people might know the story. Right? So I'll be talking about my journey, the challenges I faced along the way, and all that. I'll also be talking about the illusion of learning, illusion of progress. Sometimes you may think, oh, you're actually making progress, whereas you are not. I'll be talking about input versus output. I know for this program, I've mentioned that the output is very important, right? It takes 50% of the ratio if you are trying to get the certificate, right? And why output feels hard. So let me share my story. So the first time I wrote code was in 2017, and that was like the very first time. I was in JS3 about to enter SS1, and there was no prior intention to learning how to code. I just accidentally stumbled on it out of curiosity. So I saw the Solo Learn app, if you are familiar with it. I set on the apps and I just installed it. Then I didn't even have my phone, right? I was using my dad's phone. From there, I went to boarding school from SS1 to SS3. And those were tough days. Like it was like a barrack. You know the scenes where you the scenes where someone is newly welcomed to prison, the way it looks, that was how it looked. I remember walking into the hostel and some boys were cheering. It was an insane experience. I went to government college, Ikorodu. That's at Owutu, if any of you know that school. It was tough to keep up then, right? No laptop to use. Computer room was inaccessible. I wasn't known as a computer guru. I wasn't even a computer guru then. No, not FGC, although I don't know what FGC is. Mine is GSMC or GCI at Lagos here, Ikorodu. It's just before you get to Agric. There's a school by your right. You see, that was the school going to, right? So continue with the story, right? So because I was going to boarding school and phones and laptops, they were not allowed, obviously. I remember I used to create like books for what I learned from the Solo Learn app because the Solo Learn app uses a gamified approach where for each sub module you take, you get points. You can compete with other people across the internet. It has a playground and all. Right. So I remember I used to create books for them. Then I was learning HTML. I created books for it. It got stolen several times, right? In fact, the first day I got to that school, some of my stuff was stolen. They were welcoming me that way. It was terrible. I didn't even prepare for it. It wasn't something I was used to. Yeah. So I finished school 2020, right? I had a phone at that point, but learning was slow. Right. Most of the groups I was on then were they were academic ones, like all these maybe jam ones or aspirants type of group, right? And no one around me was interested in what I was doing, in what I did, or at least I did not know them. So he cousin gave me his laptop in 2021. That was close to my birthday, right? I took it as a birthday gift. So I was doing HTML and CSS stuff, right? Solo learn on the side. Then I came across STEM Cafe Festival on Instagram, and the location was not far from my house. That was the first time I was leaving home on my own. My mom even had to follow me there, and we left. When I got there, I saw a lot of things. I saw some people playing around with this virtual reality headset. I saw Mechamon. If you're familiar with Mechamon, Mechamon is a robot that was created by Silas Adekunle. When I saw the robot there, I was like, wow, I know this because I wanted to become a robotics engineer. Right? So I was looking for Nigerian robotics engineer, and I saw Silas Adekunle. He was one of the highest paid. Even till today, you still see things about that. Right. So when I saw the robot, I recognized it immediately. So it seemed he had like a partnership with STEM Cafe then. Right. So I got there. I found out there was an ongoing scholarship by last week. They wanted to sponsor people to learn some things at STEM Cafe. I applied, nothing academic related, right? Just be interested. I applied, and I was given. So STEM Cafe became the first point of exposure for me. They taught physical computing and 3D modeling. Right? So physical computing is another word for embedded systems. So that was how I got to learn about how IoT projects work and all. So in early 2022, blockchain was trending. Well, since 2021 actually. Right? So I did a training on blockchain by Zuri. If any of you even know Zuri, they are not as popular as they used to be, but then they used to organize internships. Sometimes you hear I4G also. So Zuri I4G. So I learned how blockchain works. I learned how to build smart contracts. I learned how to mint an NFT. I think, yeah, and all that. So after close to a year, that's from 2021, I got into LASSO. Because then I started like focusing on machine learning. This was 2022. Then my laptop spoiled. And the laptop I had spoiled. The laptop I was given spoiled. Now, if you see my journey so far, you see that I've gone through a lot of fields. In fact, I even did cybersecurity for a while. Though in between them, I got a certificate from Try Hack Me then and won a prize for them from them. They were doing Advent of Cyber. They do it every December, where you learn a cybersecurity concept every day. And if you complete it, your name gets entered into a raffle draw. And of thousands of people, I was lucky. to be among them. But I knew what I wanted, right? Especially since my experience at STEM Cafe. I liked computers. I like seeing like physical stuff I can touch, right? But I just did not have access to the tools yet. At least then, that's what I thought, right? But in 200 level, I had one very heavy, weak laptop. It was the heaviest laptop I have carried so far, and it did not even serve me well. I did 100 days of ML then. Then we're still enjoying 7 hours of light and that's 5 hours at night, right? So you can imagine from 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. And sometimes NEPA would even give us light, right? So I did 100 days of ML, and the 100 days even overlapped with exam period. Now keep in mind that even at this point, I still didn't know anyone else doing ML. Right. I knew of one person that codes, but it was not ML. I knew of people that code, but not ML. I did most of the 100 days of ML with my phone because terrible laptop, right? So the up and down of me having a laptop at one point, not having a laptop, and this 100 days of ML that I was doing, it was just teaching me resilience and consistency. So things won't always be rosy, even if we start rosy. So keep that in mind. Now I did the same thing in 300 level. Like I felt I was slacking that. If I don't challenge myself, I don't feel like I'm learning. Right. So I did 100 days of ML again in 300 level. And you know that as soon as we got to 300 level, that was when the light issue started. It dropped from 7 hours to 3 hours a day. Right. So I did this 100 days of ML again. It overlapped with exams, right? But I was still able to complete it like without missing a day. I wrote about the experience in an article. I will share the link to it later. So what are some things that you should draw out from this? Well, the first thing is that you don't need you don't need perfect conditions to start. I started with my dad's phone and I was learning what I could at midnight, right? Midnight. I was learning it. Another thing you should take note is that exposure changes everything. STEM Cafe was the first point of exposure for me. Now, STEM Cafe is a company that is owned by CC Hub. So if you've heard of CC Hub, they own STEM Cafe, and the owner, the founder of STEM Cafe of CC Hub, is the current Minister of Digital Economy. That's Bosun Tijani. Yeah, I almost had a chance to meet him then because we had to present our work from what we've learned during that program then. Right. Another thing is that trying many things is not a problem, right? The problem is doing them all at the same time. So if we look at how my journey progressed, I actually did one when I was doing blockchain. Blockchain was what I was doing, right? Although cybersecurity was different, right? But when I was doing those things, I was focused on them at that point. Another thing you should take away is that consistency beats comfort. So I'm at this stage I am right now because I was consistent. Then number five is that tools are not the real limitation. They are not the real limitation. I thought the biggest problem I had when starting was that I did not have the right tools like laptop, electricity, all those results. But looking back now, that was not the real problem. The advantage you have over others is how you use what you have, right? So that little you have, use it very well. The good thing was that the times I was not with I didn't have a laptop and I was using my phone. There's a tool called Google Colab that I was using. Imagine having to type codes on your phone and run it. Like you get used to it if you don't have alternative, you are going to get used to it. So I use that to build a lot of ML projects then. All right, so moving on. So that's my background. Moving on to the illusion of learning. So the first thing you need to know is that watching YouTube, watching tutorials does not equal learning. And you need to understand that understanding does not equal ability. So you know something does not mean you can do something. Right? So this is something a lot of us might have experienced. Say for example, you watch a tutorial on YouTube. It makes sense to you, right? You are following along. You feel like you understand. But the moment you close the video and try to do it yourself, you start to have wahala, right? So that gap is the illusion of learning, where you think you're actually learning something, but instead you're actually trying to memorize, right? So that gap is an illusion. There are other ways this illusion can manifest, right? Say you are even doing, for example, when I was doing 100 days of um, machine learning, in my reflections, I was like, at one point, it didn't feel enjoyable anymore. It felt like work. It felt like I just had to do the bare minimum and post it because I was posting my progress like every day on LinkedIn and Twitter. So it felt like work at some point. I didn't enjoy it, but I just know that whenever I start something, I always try to finish it. Right? If not, it just gives me anxiety. So I have to always finish it. So keep this in mind. Watching does not equal learning. So you can watch a lot of tutorials, but it does not mean you are learning anything. Understanding too does not equal ability. Just because you understand something does not mean you have the ability to do it. So everything is simplified into these two, right? Input and output. Input is what you are doing when you are watching videos, when you are reading articles, or when you are taking courses online. That is input. You are absorbing information. Output is when you try to create something. Say you try to build something, you try to write, explain, implement what I'm doing right now. For me, it is output. For you, it is input, right? Because you're absorbing information. The problem is that input feels good, right? It's easy. Like it's so easy to just sit there and watch tutorials, like just watch YouTube tutorials. It's easy, it feels comfortable, right? And output feels hard. Now, this is where you usually get stuck, and this is where you struggle. But struggling is where the learning happens. If it is easy to get, it's not going to last. Keep that in mind. We have input and we have output. So moving on, we have input, watching, reading, and we have output. So this is output. So why does output feel hard? So the first reason is that we humans, we have fear of being wrong naturally. So because you are posting out there, you don't want to make mistakes. You don't want it to look like you don't know what you are doing, right? So this is one reason why it feels hard. It prevents you from actually putting things out there. Fear of being wrong. Another is not feeling ready. So you tell yourself, in fact, I've seen people do this, right? They tell themselves, oh, I don't think I'm ready yet. Let me just learn a bit more. I don't know enough, right? When I know enough, I'll start. So the shocker is that you can't know enough. You can't be fully ready to do all these things. Keep that in mind. Then perfectionism, right? I stated some days ago that I'm not used to presenting, right? If I was this perfectionist in this sense, I'll just be like, my presentation is not good, so I'm not going to take it. But yeah, it doesn't really matter, right? As long as my audience gets the message I'm trying to pass across, right? I'm not trying to be perfect in the way I talk like this now. So let's look at some common beginner mistakes. Number one is watching too much. It's easy for you to get coupon codes to Udemy now. You just be taking courses passively, take a lot of courses and then nothing changes, right? That's a problem. You are watching too much, you are absorbing too much. Now, if you're able to practice what you've learned, right? If you're able, I should say, if you're able to practice what you've been absorbing, right, then you can say actually learning something. But you not practicing what you have learned is a problem because you never really test yourself that way. You may think you know something until you try to do it. Another one is jumping between topics. There's someone I know that he has decided, oh, start is cybersecurity. He wants to go into cybersecurity. But then seeing recently, he has switched to cloud computing. Starting out, those two don't even relate, right? Understand that okay, everything is on the cloud here, but cloud computing, those things does not relate at the early stages. It's only in like advanced level, and it's going to cause you to drift. So if you jump between topics a lot, you are never really going to feel satisfied. You get this fear of missing out. Say for example, when blockchain came out, when it started to become popular, you see everybody doing blockchain. Everybody wanted to go into it. Everybody then blockchain developer. When AI started to get popular, the same thing happened. The same thing happened. When another technology comes out in the future, it's going to get a lot of hype. A lot of people will jump on it. So that's how it is. But just focus on the topics that you really enjoy. I'm of the belief that if it's about money, you can be rich with any field. If you look at all fields, no matter how you think of it, there are billionaires in that field, right? So if you chase what you love and you are good at it, you get money. It's that easy. But if you are chasing money, you might not enjoy what you are doing, right? And it's going to feel like work to you. It's going to stress you. So jumping between topics, you have to be careful with this. And this affected me somehow in the cybersecurity aspect. I like to think I'm knowledgeable than the average person in cybersecurity, but I don't have depth in the field. And jumping between topics is not going to give you depth. And it's from depth that you get like expertise. You can't be good at something you haven't spent a lot of time on yet. Finally waiting to feel ready. You are just going to wait like forever because you'll never truly be ready. There's always that constant thought of, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't think this is perfect. I don't have enough. So many excuses, right? Excuses. So let's move on. So beware of these mistakes. So what actually works here? Well, this is how this is how you do learning. It's like so you absorb information, right? Let's say you decide to take a course on Coursera, right? You learn something small, right? Then you try it yourself. You try to see if you can implement it. And then you get stuck. Here you are struggling to figure out how to fix it. And when you try to fix it, it works or it does not work. you try it, you learn again, you try it, you struggle. The struggle is where learning actually happens. This struggling part, because this part is the struggling is where, because if you learn something, if something comes too easy to you, you are going to forget it. But if you spend some time on it, right, it's going to stick with you. Right? That's how this part is. So for me, things didn't change immediately. Right? It changed when I stopped focusing on trying to understand everything. I have a lot of interest, but that doesn't mean I have to go into them deeply. Right? If I am very curious to know how virtual reality works, I can read on it. I can maybe try to implement one or two things on it, but it does not mean I should go all into it. It's just curiosity, right? Your career path, what you want for your career might be different. So don't aim to understand everything. Just aim to build something. That's why in this bootcamp we are emphasizing output. Output is 50%. So if you wish to get a certificate, if you have output of 50%, say you make like 5 projects now, because for every project you make, it's 10%. Say you make 5 ML AI related or data science projects, you already have your 50% from there. And maybe you just attend some classes, you are able to get your certificate. Right? So, like I said, this is just meant to be a short, light session. We are going to continue with this tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to have a call to action. So, simple challenge for all of you, something I want you all to do. So before the end of this week, I want to challenge you to create something. Be something small. Could be a short post, could be an article, maybe even start a project, right? When you make your post online, please use this hashtag SPE last week 30 days of AI. And in tech, this is the difference, right? One group is consuming. Most people are consumers, right? They are absorbing information, too much information, right? Very little impact when you get the information. While another group, those people we see and we admire from afar. Like, how do you think you admire them? Why do you think you admire them? It's because you see what they do. What they do, that's output, right? These are the people that are building something. These are the people that are talking at events. So this is just to encourage you guys to put yourself out there, build something, build something. Because people that have less than half your knowledge, in fact, you may not even know some of these people you see and admire, you may know a lot more than them, right? But you just think, oh, because they are quite popular, they will likely know more. But no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So, any questions? We've come to the Q&A part of this session. So does anyone have any question? If you have questions regarding this, feel free to drop them in the comments or unmute and speak. Tomorrow, this will be the same topic here, from learning to building, but this part will be different. So it won't be mindset. Today, I've shared that one thing you really need to have is resilience when things are not going smoothly. Now, you could say it's not. You could say it's easy for me, right? Because that's a life has been trying to teach me that from like a very from many years back, right? having a laptop, no laptop, no one around me I could learn from, no communities to join. Right? But I'm able to scale through to get to who I am today. And this resilience is going to help me going forward because I've struggled, right? And I've been able to overcome them. So you feel like you can do anything when you actually go through something like this. You feel like nothing can really stop you from doing anything. So that's the kind of mindset I want you guys to have also. You can just do things, you can just do stuff. So when is the challenge starting? Uh, by challenge, I want to assume this is what you mean. Well, the challenge has already begun since the beginning of the boot camp, right? It counts towards your submission for you getting a certificate, right? So short post about the program, what you've learned. So when we go into other weeks, you could share more there. But I just want to challenge you, put out something this week also. So that is the challenge. And I'm just seeing your message. No, I did not go to federal government college. I think that's another school. Maybe deep in Ikodu. I'm not so sure. Okay, I joined late when the link was not sent early. Please, I would love to go through today's lecture. Yes, the session is being recorded, so you are going to get the recording maybe today, and you get the for those that missed other days, you are going to get the recording for that also. The recording is available. With the link to the article, I will let me, let me see if I can. Now, this is a very good question, Ibrahim. Which do you think is more effective, self-paced learning or learning with others? This just reminded me of something I wanted to mention before. If you think you are unable to do this alone, find an accountability partner, someone that will keep you in check. Now, I didn't have one. I mean, I tried to, but sometimes I feel like they were just pulling me back. Right? So I did most of my stuff alone. But for some people, it works easily. I don't have accountability partners, but I have friends that we sort of keep ourselves in check. Right? We try to go for competitions together, motivate each other that way. So which one do I think is more effective? I cannot say, but I would say that starting out, whenever I try to learn something, having structure is very good. So say you decide to self-learn on your own, maybe through online tutorials, or you decide to pay for a training and go. I'll suggest you find the one that gives you more structure, gives you more accountability. I met one guy at an event and I tried to ask him how we learned all this. And he said he's unable to learn unless there's risk attached to it. Right. So he pays for whatever he learns because if he doesn't pay, he's not going to take it serious. So and this is one thing that also pushed me when I was doing my 100 days of ML, right? Because I was posting it online, right? I just knew that every day I had to post something. And before I can post, it means I had to learn something. So I would just tell myself 30 days, 30 minutes is not that won't make me feel. 30 minutes of me learning something on AI is not going to make me feel. It's been a while since I wrote that article. Trying to find. Okay. Let me copy it. I will also share it. I will also share it to the community. So you can read it. I think you can only open it if you are even on your laptop. So I will send it to the community and just go through it. So are there any other questions? I think we've come to the end of this session. So output, guys. Output. If you have a project you wish to start now. We are going to go through them in the project and showcase week. We'll go through them together. So I guess that's all for today. Tomorrow you'll be learning how you can. I'm going to be talking about some resources for you to get started and some ways you can put yourself out there, or should I say output, how to put out output, if that makes sense to you. So we've come to the end. Thank you everyone for joining. Okay, let me stop recording now.
And to be honest, those the questions the quiz was kind of easy.